Hey guys, if you want to see my uncut version of this video, including moment-by-moment analysis of crime scene footage, which is far too shocking to show you on YouTube, it's available over on my Patreon for just $2. That's patreon.com/traplawross. Thanks. So, you're thinking of going to a Travis Scott concert? Well, before you do, let me give you a little bit of advice. Because Travis's concerts tend to get a little bit violent. You see, Travis Scott's shows are like no other shows in music. And if you're a true Travis Scott fan, you'll be hanging on every word that he says. So you'll need to be ready to break laws and bones at Travis's beck and call. After all, Travis has been telling his fans to rage out, ignore security, and rush stages ever since 2015. Back at Lollapalooza, when he told his fans to rush security and get on the stage, causing a very dangerous situation and pandemonium for the show's organizers.
They're not gonna stop you. Let's go! Let's go! Hey! Don't you handle them like that. Let them the fuck go. Everybody in the green shirt, get the fuck back. Middle finger up to security right now. Yeah! We want rage! 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 1, 2, 3!
Travis would go on to play one of his songs as the crowd go nuts in a restricted area with the security far too overwhelmed to take control of the crowd. And a comment on that video posted a whopping 6 years ago reads, "My buddy and I were standing in the middle and we moved up when people went forward. It was awful when 40 people fell on top of us after people got sent back into the crowd and moved backwards. I almost broke my ankle. Worth it." Eventually those fans made their way onto the stage. Well, actually, Travis invited them on stage.
I need one ranger on each box. One ranger. You ready? Yo! Stop fucking touching these rangers, man! Don't fucking touch them! All the security, back the fuck up!
Ironically, it only took Travis Scott just a couple of seconds to realize this whole thing was a very bad idea.
Okay, hold on. There's only one ranger at a time. Yeah, get down. He's good. Yo. Gotta get down. Only one ranger. Next time.
But as more and more people got on the stage, it soon became clear that not only was this a dangerous place for the fans to be, but also an unsafe environment for Travis to perform too. With Trav soon realizing that all of these people in his space would now be endangering him, causing him to begin to plead for people to get back on the floor.
Yo, one ranger at a time. Hey yo, all get on stage if y'all don't obey orders. Get down. Get down. Get the fuck down, asshole. This is dance on the show, if y'all don't get down. So listen, get down. We can start over, everybody just get down. Get down.
Because it's all well and good to put your fans in danger, but then when you're in danger and inconvenienced, it's time to start throwing a hissy fit and calling your fans fanboys. In fact, during this incident, Travis would go on to berate his fans, who he invited on the stage, showing us just how much he cared about his audience all the way back in 2015.
But you gotta get down, bro. Snapchat isn't that cool. It's some bitches. Down. No, it's some bitches. Get down. Put your phone up, you fucking. Okay. Get down. Just get down. Get down. Okay. Listen. Yo, crazy girl, stop.
You see, once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it's very hard to get it back in. And after quite some time trying to bring some order back to a well-organized festival that he had just ruined by being a complete shitbag, festival organizers soon joined Travis on stage, along with the police ushering him off after just one song. At this point, Travis Scott was arrested for disorderly conduct.
Chaos in the crowds at Lollapalooza. Tonight, a performer is charged with causing the commotion that sent fans over security barricades. Good evening, everyone. I'm Karen Jordan. Ravi is off tonight. Police say that it all started when a performer told people to climb over security barriers during his performance.
Rapper Travis Scott, though, that you mentioned, whose real name is Jock Webster, was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct. Police say the performer tried to urge the crowd to ignore security and rush the stage. Organizers say it could have been a dangerous situation, but security quickly got things under control and stopped the performance of rapper Travis Scott. It was 5 minutes into his show, but that was enough. The Office of Emergency Management issued a statement saying the performer played one song and then began telling fans to come over the barricades. Due to the security's quick response, the situation was remedied immediately and no fans were injured. The performer fled the scene and was taken into custody a short while later.
Travis would plead guilty, receiving a year of court-ordered supervision. Obviously, those squares that organise Lollapalooza just don't know how to rage, am I right? Because the fans absolutely loved being endangered, with tweets floating around after the incident saying Travis Scott absolutely killed Lollapalooza. But this wouldn't be the last time Travis Scott would kill on stage. No, not by a long shot. As the years went on, Travis would continue endangering his fans' lives and safety at concert after concert. Exactly 2 years after that Lollapalooza incident, Travis was arrested for similar conduct in northwest Arkansas after telling fans to bypass security and rush the stage once again.
It's a lot of motherfuckers in here tonight. Now, before I go to this next song, I'm gonna invite just a couple more people down here to rage with these motherfuckers right here. Now, I don't know if you're scared, I don't know if you're nervous, I don't know what it is, but if you want to get in this pit, this is your last chance right now. Oh, here they come. Ray, Tyler, get it, coming, busy, Los, coming, let's go. I see him. Security, let him through.
Yep, Trav did it again, and he was subsequently arrested again for inciting a riot. In fact, apparently several people were injured at this incident, including a security guard and a police officer. And Travis was initially charged with inciting a riot, disorderly conduct, and endangering the welfare of a minor. But 9 months later, after some intense negotiation by his lawyer, 2 charges of inciting a riot and endangering a child were dropped. And Travis would go on to plead guilty to a misdemeanor charge of disorderly conduct, being ordered to pay restitution to a sheriff's deputy and security guard who were injured. But hey, $7,500 is a drop in the ocean to a multi-platinum, multi-riot starting megastar. So really, there was no reason for Travis to change. In fact, the same year of that second festival riot in 2017, Travis Scott would play a show in New York, where he encouraged fans to dangerously jump off of a second-floor balcony, promising that fans below would catch them.
I see you. Hold on, turn the lights on. I see you, bro. Are you gonna do it? Give me 18 real quick. I see you, but are you gonna do it? I ain't gonna lie. Turn the lights on. They gonna catch you. Don't be scared. Yeah!
This wasn't the only person to jump, and there are numerous clips circulating showing different fans taking a leap of faith at Travis's show. However, another fan jumped off the balcony at this event and was less fortunate, with one young man taking that very same jump, hitting the ground and being paralyzed. And then, instead of offering medical attention or to stop the show, Travis Scott offered the man one of his rings. And in order to give him that ring, he had the young man dragged from the ground where he laid paralyzed to the stage, possibly causing even worse injury.
Hold on, give me. Check this ring. Check this ring right here. Check this ring. Come here. Check this ring. Hey, pick him up. Pick his ass up. Give him this ring. I gotta put this ring on him. Pick him up, man. Well, put this ring on his finger, bro. Put this ring on his finger. Hey, Michael, put the fucking ring on his finger. I love you, kid. Just take that ring. Make sure you take that ring. Why the fuck did you do that? I love you, man.
You know, I don't believe Travis when he says he loves his fans. This kid was really paralyzed, and he is going to be spending the rest of his life in a wheelchair. I don't think a ring is quite going to cut it. And well, you would think that seeing a young man lifeless on the ground, unable to use his legs after falling from a great height, would definitely be cause to stop a concert. But no, Travis Scott doesn't stop shows for shit. I mean, he is more than happy to stop one for a shoe if it gets stolen from him. I mean, he has to stop the show to encourage all of the fans to assault the person who took it.
Get that motherfucker, get him! You tried to take my shoe? You wanna be a thief? Fuck him up! 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 Get him out of here! Get him out of here! Boo! 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 Fuck his ass up!
Yes, Travis Scott is judge, jury, and executioner at his shows. The Ragers' lives are in his hands, and he is the puppet master. But it seems like the only thing stopping Travis Scott from endangering his fans on a whole new echelon is those square authorities, festival organizers, and security. You know, doing annoying stuff like providing a safe venue for a performance, completely stifling Travis Scott's desire to endanger his fans and cause them serious harm like a true artist. I mean, if only Travis Scott had his own festival, where anything goes and his fans could rage all they want. Well, you're in luck, Ragers, because in 2018, Travis Scott introduced the world to his very own Astroworld festival. Named after his iconic album, this would be Travis's very own festival in Houston, where he would be the main headliner, with fans quite literally lining up and walking into the venue through a giant Travis Scott head's mouth. I think it'd be pretty safe to say that Travis Scott is the head of this operation, you know? He's headlining the festival, his name's all over it, it's his thing. So, how did that festival go? Well, 2018, it went alright. But 2019 was a different story, as 3 people were injured in a stampede that kicked off while rabid ragers were rushing the gates of the festival. Well, when the Houston police say outright that the promoters didn't sufficiently plan for a large crowd, then I'm sure that chart-topping megastar Travis Scott, along with his backers over at Live Nation, duly learned their lesson, making damn sure that for the next Astroworld things would be different, things would be safe, and things would be well organized. So, did that happen? Did it fuck? In May 2021, 100,000 tickets go on sale for the 2-day Astroworld 2021 festival, reportedly selling out completely within an hour. Travis would go on to tweet that despite the show being sold out, he would still be planning to sneak the wild ones in. From here, promotional videos are released seemingly encouraging fans to break in using footage from the stampede at the 2019 festival. Ooh, so much hype, I can't wait to rage at Astroworld 21. And eventually, the day finally comes. On Friday, the 5th of November 2021, fans begin arriving at the Astroworld Music Festival at NRG Park in Houston, Texas. The operations plan would state that the festival was fully sold out, with the venue expecting to welcome 50,000 fans, opening the gates to the public at 9 AM with plans to start the festival from noon. Apparently, wristband scanners were intended to be used to determine whether or not someone should actually gain entry to the event. However, as early as 10 o'clock in the morning, logs from the fire department record that the venue's fences have been damaged and organizers had no control over people trying to get in. And apparently it was recorded here that 4 concert goers were already injured in this initial rush on the gates. But things didn't stop there. At 11 AM, firefighters apparently noticed hundreds of fans heading towards the gates and dismantling them. By 11:33 AM, it said that more people were storming the gates and the police shut down the merchandise table. By 12:17, firefighters had reported that a number of people had broken through the gates into an adjacent lot, with reports of some even using bolt cutters to break through barricades. At this point, the police apparently detained a handful of people, but ultimately festival organizers would let them go. At this point, injuries were already being reported, with people taken to hospital, with some suffering facial trauma and a woman receiving lacerations from climbing a fence. But from here, things would get rapidly worse, as it was said that by 2 PM, thousands of Travis fans were rushing the gates a second time, flooding the stadium without tickets. So all of these rabid Travis fans enter the venue completely unaccounted for, and they begin having a good time, partying and moshing while there still appears to be a decent amount of space before the full show started. And at this point, more injuries were reported, but things would continue to get slowly worse as the crowd begins to swell. Meanwhile, fire department logs record that concert goers continued to charge at gates and push down fences in these hours before performers had even hit the stage. At 4:51 PM, the Houston Police Department records engagements with concert goers pushing down fences with with the police describing the crowd conditions as dangerous. At 5 p.m. during Don Toliver's set, unconscious women were apparently seen laid out on the scene with no medical personnel attending to those in need. Around 8:30 p.m., a timer appears on the main stage, apparently counting down towards Travis Scott's set. This would cause many fans in the crowd to push towards the front of the stage, trying to get a better view for Travis's set.
As the timer got closer to 0, it got really, really bad. I couldn't even turn my head to tell my boyfriend anything. I mean, we were packed in there, so I had people shoving me from behind, shoving me from the front, on both sides. It's getting really hard to breathe.
At 8:39 p.m., concert goers capture videos before Travis's set has even begun, showing dangerous levels of overcrowding. As concert goers are forced over barricades and security attempt to treat unresponsive people on the ground long before Travis Scott had even got on the stage. And then at 9:02, Travis begins performing as fans continue to push even harder towards the front of the show. At 9:04 p.m., only 2 minutes into Trav's set, we see people in the crowd climbing on top of each other and the mass of people swirling around like a vortex.
Houston, Texas, make some motherfucking noise!
Other reports came out suggesting that people were passing out in this crowd within minutes of Travis Scott walking on stage. At this point, Travis Scott begins to play his hit song Highest in the Room, during which time he walks right to the front looking directly into the crowd. And at 9:08 p.m, he begins to play his song Butterfly Effect whilst directing the crowd, with on-the-ground footage showing fans making space for a mosh pit. At 9:11 p.m, Travis finishes playing his song Butterfly Effect and moves into the next song, Stargazing. At this point, a video shows fans trying to escape the overcrowding. And then at 9:13 p.m, when Travis moves into the second part of that song, we see the crowd going crazy close up as the beat switches.
Stay Astroworld! Stay Astroworld!
At 9:16 p.m, Travis Scott begins to perform his next song, Carousel, as aerial footage captures large surges in the crowd as people continue to flood the venue and push towards the front of the stage. And at 9:17 p.m, Travis Scott addresses the ragers in the crowd, letting them know that this show is about to get crazy.
All the real ragers around here, you know what time it is, so get your section straight right now. And to everybody that's watching at home right now, I want y'all to see a little bit of how we do it out here in Houston real quick.
And all the while this is going on, crowds are continuing to push to the front of the stage. After finishing his next song around 9:20 p.m, Travis would take a breather and bask in the crowd chanting his name. But as Travis soaked up the adulation from his fans, something caught his eye in the crowd, as Travis would notice somebody sat up in a tree, pointing them out for all to see, completely unaware that the reason they had climbed the tree is to escape the deadly overcrowding going on in the crowd below.
Hold on. Turn the lights on. I think I see somebody in the tree. Turn the lights on.
And whilst Travis points out this little rebellious rager in the tree, security is seen behind him telling fans to get back from the stage. However, at the same time as that, another angle shot within the crowd would show panicked fans frantically yelling for medical help and receiving none.
I see somebody in the tree. Turn the lights on. Turn the lights on. Turn the lights on. Make some noise for my boy right there hanging in the tree right there.
So from here, Travis begins to play his next song, Party Never Ends, encouraging his ragers to go nuts as the tragedy begins to truly take hold. Ironically, somebody is seen at the crowd at this point holding up a sign that says, "Will we survive?" Sadly, many wouldn't, but none of that would matter to Travis Scott, who would continue bopping up and down on stage, paying very little mind to the tragedy unfolding in front of him. However, that would change for a brief moment after this song, where Travis appears to notice somebody distressed in the crowd, telling somebody called Mike Brown to make sure that they're good.
I got my man Tom Sachs in the motherfucking building. Legend. And whatever he needs to, we gotta get. Yo, Mike Brown. Make sure he good. Elijah, walk with him. Take him.
Alright guys, I looked into this, and on closer inspection, it turns out Tom Sachs isn't a fan that was in need that Travis was trying to make sure was okay. No, Tom Sachs is just some guy who apparently sold Travis Scott a painting of Krusty the Clown for over $200,000. But I think we know who the real clown is, don't we? Travis would continue his set after this, to around 9:27 p.m, when more members of the audience are seen waving for help. But it was at 9:28 p.m, according to firefighters' logs, that shit begun to get real, as the Paradox medics, who were hired to give medical attention at at this event are described as overwhelmed and unequipped to handle the number and complexity of the patients injured at this event. And then, to make matters even worse, at 9:29 p.m, Travis would tell the audience that he wants to see the Ragers.
I want to see some rages, man. Who want to rage, man? Yes, sir.
At which point, yet another mosh pit opens up, and during this time, fans would share videos of a mobile ambulance attempting to move through the packed crowd trying to help the injured. Travis himself then even notices the ambulance in the crowd from the stage, initially identifying it correctly as an ambulance before then backtracking and asking what the fuck is that?
It's an ambulance in the crowd. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What the fuck is that?
We got you, Travis. You saw it was an ambulance. We all saw you saw it was an ambulance. And at this point, according to fire department logs, at least 5 911 calls had been received from the crowd, reporting people unconscious and needing CPR, with multiple people reported trampled and unconscious at the front of the stage too. At this point, Travis Scott would then ask the audience if they're feeling okay, and if so, to put their middle fingers up in the sky.
If everybody good, put a middle finger up in the sky. Okay, where my guy, man? Come on.
Not really a standard welfare check, is it? And as soon as Travis said that, a live camera feed right next to the ambulance that was trying to get through would show that ambulance blocked in, surrounded by people holding their middle finger up to Travis on the stage, giving zero fucks about the tragedy going on around them. Now, you see, Travis, if somebody's really hurt and in distress, they're not going to be able to hold their middle finger up, are they? I know some people have pointed to this moment of Travis asking the crowd if they're okay as an example of Travis actually looking out for the welfare of the crowd, when what he was really doing was diverting their attention away from the danger going on around them and failing to direct them to let the ambulance through so that it could potentially save a life. We know you saw the ambulance, Trav.
It's an ambulance in the crowd. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
And even though he saw that ambulance and it was obvious it was trying to do something important, Travis focused the fans' attention back on himself and his big performance / ego, which was much more important than anything else going on in that crowd in front of him. And at this point, 2 people even appear on stage apparently telling Travis Scott something privately. But whatever it was, it can't have been as important as Travis's performance, because he simply brushed it off saying, yeah, all of that.
Yeah, all that. 2 hands to the sky. 2 hands to the sky.
2 hands up, y'all, 2 hands up.
Y'all know what y'all came to do. Chase me, let's go.
Before launching back into his performance. That's right, after seeing an ambulance in the crowd with his own eyes, and then being approached by 2 members of his team, which he shrugged off immediately, Travis would just push on with the show, playing his Rager anthem Upper Echelon, and telling the crowd that they know what they came here to do. You know, the sort of thing they do at all the other Travis Scott shows. As the show swings back into full motion, those 2 men who had approached Travis on stage would then jump feet first into the crowd, I assume kicking people in the face, as a huge pyrotechnic show goes off behind them, surrounding the stage in flames and creating a scene that looks like something quite literally out of the depths of hell. And at this point, all hell would truly break loose. After ignoring what he correctly identified as an ambulance in the crowd and moving on, the last chance to prevent a tragedy is lost as Travis launches into his next song. It's clear there's no stopping the Travis Scott train as his Astroworld festival continues its rage fest. And once Trav finishes that song, he takes a little breather. And this is actually the first time in the official recording of Astroworld that we can hear his fans screaming for medical attention. Yes, amidst his panicked crowd's cries for help, this is the moment that Travis Scott is elevated far above his crowd on a raising platform. Ironically, this would give him the perfect vantage point to spot if anything bad was going on in his audience. He then goes on to launch into his recently released song Mafia, a very shallow affair all about all the custom things he has, living the high life and seeing himself on the cover of magazines. Shit, I wonder if he enjoyed his face being on the cover of all the papers the next day. Anyway, as Travis continues to sing, medical staff would continue to give chest compressions to dying members of the audience, piling their bodies onto the back of golf carts, desperately trying to get them out of the overcrowded venue. With all of this being documented in amateur video that is far too shocking to show you on YouTube. At 9:34 p.m, Travis begins performing his next song, Lost Forever. At this point, a video shows a man and a woman climbing up onto a platform and pleading with a camera operator for help and to end the show.
2 hands to the sky. Chase me, let's do it.
Unfortunately, their efforts were futile, as were the efforts of the medical staff, who at 9:37 p.m, unable to get where they're going in order to give help, that ambulance that was seen in the crowd gives up and attempts to drive away from the stage. And at this point, Travis Scott begins warming up for his next song, Skeletons, at which point he rather tragically tells the crowd that he can see them clearly all the way to the back.
Shit is fucking beautiful. I see you all the way in the back!
A very ironic statement for Travis to make, only seconds before 9:38 p.m, the time that Houston city officials state that a mass casualty event is declared. Apparently, Houston police at this point had seen people collapse firsthand, with CPR being performed on numerous lifeless individuals, with it being said that soon after this mass casualty event was announced, organizers from Live Nation agreed to end the show, with this coming apparently after a direct conversation with city officials, but for some reasons that still at this stage aren't very clear, Travis Scott continued to play. All the while, calls with the emergency services are being recorded, discussing the severity of the situation on the ground and asking why hasn't the show been stopped.
I'm over at the medical tent, and there's a lot of people trampled and they're passed out at the front stage.
The unit asking about trampling, I guess they're pulling them out and taking them to the back.
They were getting multiple reports that people found out unconscious in the crowd.
HBCP to unit interrogated reports. Right now, that crowd is super thick, super dense. If you go in there, this could possibly turn into an officer rescue situation, and that makes it extremely dangerous for everybody. So right now, if you can get in on the perimeter, get to them. If not, try your best to go commands into that crowd to help out. Other than that, be careful.
Well, they have to stop the show because there's people trampled and they're not breathing.
You guys are doing well. Take a breath. Everyone's doing a good job. Now listen, what I need is for people to get things under control at the medical tent. HFD's been advised. They are listening to our channel, and they're pulling people in to come and help, okay? Help is coming. Just take a deep breath and relax. We'll work through this.
We're having some structural issues that could be catastrophic, and we need everybody together. No small groups. 10 or less is unacceptable. Looks like folks are coming out of the crowd complaining of difficulty breathing, crushing type injuries. Seems like the crowd is compressing, from what I could tell. I was on the Delta side, and I probably saw at least 4 or 5 people pouring out of the crowd, just trying to get away from the crowd. The comps are still going on. The crowd is compressing, is compressing, and the intel we're getting is that the barricade might be compromised or being compromised. So the crowd is compressing. Does anybody have eyes on Seth with Live Nation?
TP to anybody that's close to Seth with Live Nation, can you advise?
At 9:39 p.m, 16 fire department units are dispatched to the NRG Park venue. All the while, Travis Scott continues bellowing his track Skeletons in front of a crowd now officially in danger. But hell, at a certain point, even Travis Scott himself couldn't ignore the mass casualty event going on in front of his very eyes. And around 9:42 p.m, Travis Scott would stop the show very briefly.
Just play it slowly. We need somebody to help him. Somebody passed out right here.
Asking security for help with an unconscious fan, but then continuing to perform around 30 seconds later as the fan was carried out, with an enormous number of fans in the crowd chanting "Stop the show" and being ignored. At this point, footage in the crowd captured the heartbreaking moment that a lifeless body is crowd surfed over the railings to security right in front of Travis's very eyes. And after this, fans continue to chant "Stop the show."
Stop the show! 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 Stop the show!
Well, he doesn't. People are reported as being laid out without a pulse on social media, but Travis just keeps on giving his fans the hits. At 9:46 p.m, he's playing his Pop Smoke-assisted banger Gotti, and by 9:50 p.m, he's launching into his early hit Antidote. And by 9:52 p.m, as people continue to die in the crowd, Travis tells everybody from the front to the back to put their hands in the sky.
Everybody from the front to the back, 2 hands in the sky.
Now, in hindsight, this would be a pretty deadly instruction, as numerous members of the crowd will report that it was so crowded that if you put your hands in the air, chances are you would not be able to get them back down. Only a minute after Travis's deadly request to the crowd, at 9:53 p.m, the Houston Fire Department would dispatch 12 more units in an effort to try and get this deadly situation under control. Not helped by Travis Scott, who is still on stage performing, telling his fans that he wants to see more rage.
Houston, I want to see the motherfucking rage. Houston, I want to see the motherfucking rage. And Chase B, I know what's gonna give it, JSB, let's do it.
But at 9:54 p.m, it's time for the main event, when none other than Drizzy Drake appears from beneath the stage as his latest hit, Knife Talk, begins to play. Now, this is where it gets very scary, because you've got Travis Scott either unaware or just aware and negligently ignoring the fact that people are dying in his rowdy crowd. But then you've got Drake, who has been off stage the entire performance, which means that he had been standing off stage with access to social media, a phone, the event's organizers, and Travis's management for 16 minutes after Houston declared this event a mass casualty. And for whatever reason, the biggest musical artist on earth decided to go out there and join Travis in front of an already surging crowd where people are dying so that he can get the crowd more hyped. And it was at this point during Drake's performance that people would climb on top of that ambulance, still unable to leave the crowd, dancing and twerking. At 9:57 p.m, Travis and Drake address the crowd directly, telling them it's going off from the front to the back, as Drake calls Travis's festival the biggest in the game.
I'm gonna need you to keep sending this motherfucker off from the front to the back.
All right. It's been a really long time. Actually, this is the first time in like maybe 2-3 years since I've been on stage in America. I feel blessed to be at the biggest fest.
Drake would go on to pucker up and kiss Travis Scott's Astro arse once more, saying just how bright and influential you have to be to pull off a festival like this.
This shit doesn't happen every day. You gotta be one of the most influential, incredible, best dressed, best musicians, with one of the brightest minds and the biggest fan base to pull some shit like this off. So once again, make some motherfucking noise for my brother Travis Scott. This shit does not happen every day.
You're right, Drake, and there's a good fucking reason for that, you clown. Drake would go on to perform his next hit, Too Sexy, though I'm fairly certain that him and Travis aren't too sexy for an enormous lawsuit. And after that, Drake and Travis would embrace once again for another cursed monologue, as Drake tells Travis to savor the moment and take this historic moment in. And Travis, as a final nail in the coffin, tells his fans to make the earthquake, while him and Drake perform their monster joint hit, Sicko Mode.
I want you to take this shit in. I want you to take this shit in.
Okay.
This is your city.
Okay. If I know one thing, from the front to the back, we better make this motherfucker earthquake.
Yeah.
Chase B, what the fuck is we doing?
These two are truly sickos, and as you can imagine, the crowd went absolutely mental upon hearing Drake and Travis do their joint song live, all while an enormous fireworks and pyrotechnics display goes off behind them. At 10:07 p.m, Drake wishes fans a farewell and leaves the stage.
I love y'all. Astroworld Fest, there's nothing like it.
And after that, Travis addresses the crowd once again, telling them to give their neighbor a hug.
Look at your neighbor, make sure you give him a hug. Make sure that you always saving the next person next to you. Make sure that you always spreading love. The only thing that we do this festival for, and everything that we do for life, is to give back to this community. So I love y'all so much. Before we go, I just want to see you with one more motherfucking message.
Oh, Travis, your crowd is already hugging each other. They don't have a choice. Now, that little clip of Travis checking on his crowd was one of a few that ironically circulated after the disaster of this event came to light, as apparent proof that Travis had stopped the show and asked his crowd to look out for each other at certain points in the show, apparently overlooking the fact that a mass casualty had been called 30 minutes before this, and Travis hadn't left the stage once. Now, I personally wouldn't be surprised if this was Travis's team circulating these little moments as damage control, putting out of context clips to make it look like he was looking out for his crowd that night, when he was in fact asleep at the wheel. For the record, quite a few of these little snippets have circulated on Instagram after the fact, trying to paint Travis in a positive light, along with very suspicious captions like, "This is the footage they don't want you to see." Travis doesn't want you to see any of this footage, people. Anyway, after his final little motivational speech on stage while people in the crowd are dying, Travis would perform his final song of the set, Goosebumps, leaving the stage at 10:12 p.m, telling the crowd to make it home safe.
To everybody that came out to this festival and performed at this festival, I love y'all so much. I can't thank y'all enough. I owe y'all forever. Everybody, I love y'all. Make it home safe. Good night!
Well, a lot of those people unfortunately would not make it home safe. Unlike Travis, who before heading home after leaving the festival through the back door unscathed, would head on over to another party after Astroworld, one that Drake had apparently thrown at popular arcade game spot Dave & Buster's. So while Trav partied the night away playing arcade games with Drake, emergency services hung around at the scene of his festival for hours, identifying bodies and trying to save the hundreds of people who were trapped or injured at his Astroworld festival. A true man would have rolled his sleeves up and helped.
Once you're on the ground, there's no telling if you can get back up. Tens of thousands of people from the back are rushing forward.
And you're just like suffocating. You're like counting your last breaths. dying. I'm gonna save somebody's life. That's somebody's kid.
Two hands to the sky.
I'm gonna save him.
Oh man, there was just so many people there. It felt like a million people there at once, like people just like passing out and like you could barely catch your breath.
My rib cage was so squished that I couldn't expand my chest, expand my lungs to catch a breath.
I fainted. They basically crowd surfed my unconscious body 4 feet to the right to a security guard.
My girlfriend was screaming, he has asthma, he can't breathe. At one point, I got enough breath to tell someone I can't breathe. And this kid's, quote for quote, his words were, "Not my problem."
There's a point where I thought actually I was gonna die. My breathing slowed down.
I went to a state where I accepted that I was gonna die.
At first I was like, help, help, I can't get up. And then when people started coming on top of me, I was just like, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. I kept screaming like, help, help, like I'm gonna die in here.
I look and they're carrying this guy out, and I noticed he looked really bad. His eyes were rolled in the back of his head, he was completely limp. I asked the security guard, I said, have you checked the pulse on this man? He said, I don't know how to do that. He was like, please help. So I checked the pulse, I did not feel a pulse.
I could hear people just screaming, help, help, just everything. I mean, and that was only maybe 10 minutes into the show, so I can't imagine how much it built over another 45 minutes.
So if people recording the concert, recording us doing CPR, recording the concert, dancing, and then meanwhile you have others that are climbing up the tower to the staff that's in charge of the lighting and saying, stop this, shut it down. They're trying to like shut the concert down. Nothing was being done.
I was on the ground for like 2 songs. I just wouldn't stop crying because I honestly thought I was going to die, as well as many other people. It was really scary for everyone, just overwhelmed with emotion.
I'm just a little confused as to how he didn't hear people screaming help, considering the Apple Music live broadcast picked up on people screaming help.
There were other civilians trying to help do CPR that didn't know how. I mean, teenagers, 19 years old, I asked him how old he was. 19 years old trying to do CPR.
I knew something was going on pretty much before almost anyone there did, just because there was someone, and I don't want to say his name because he's kind of famous, but he came to the medical tent and he said, there's dead bodies in the crowd, y'all need to go and handle this.
Tragically, 8 people were pronounced dead on the night of the event alone. 14-year-old John Hilgert, a freshman at Memorial High School, 16-year-old Brianna Rodriguez of Houston Heights High School and an avid dancer, 21-year-old Franco Patino, a mechanical engineering student at University of Dayton in Ohio, 23-year-old Rudy Pena, a young athlete from Laredo, Texas, 27-year-old Danish Baig, who apparently lost his life while saving a relative during the tragedy, 20-year-old Jacob Jurnick, an art and media student at Southern Illinois University, 21-year-old Axel Acosta, a computer science major at Western Washington University, and 23-year-old Madison Alexis Dubisky, a recent graduate from the University of Mississippi. And another 2 people were hospitalized at the event, later being pronounced dead in hospital. 22-year-old Barty Shahani, a Texas A&M student, and heartbreakingly, 9-year-old Ezra Blount, the youngest victim of the festival, dying in hospital after suffering severe internal injuries.
9-year-old Ezra Blount has died. He's now the youngest victim of the disaster. Ezra was hospitalized since the night of the festival.
Ezra had been on a ventilator all this time in medically induced coma at Texas Children's Hospital. Ezra's aunt said the 9-year-old boy was an outgoing performer who loved to sing and dance. Travis Scott was his favorite rapper, so his dad took him to the concert, not expecting what would follow. Ezra is now the 10th victim of the Astroworld concert tragedy, and the family's attorney, Ben Crump, issued a statement just last night stating that the family is grieving the loss of their precious son. It reads in part, "This should not have been the outcome of taking their son to a concert. What should have been a joyful celebration. Ezra's death is heartbreaking. We are committed to seeking answers and justice for the Blount family."
Over 300 people in total were injured at Travis Scott's Astroworld 2021 festival. And to honor those who lost their lives or were injured, a makeshift memorial was set up outside of the event's venue, honoring those hurt or deceased. However, as much as the organizers would have loved to have dismantled the dismal death trap that they had created at Energy Park, the venue was in fact left preserved in its exact state from when the concert occurred, becoming an official crime scene for 10 killings, which the authorities would analyze for clues in order to identify who was responsible, with eerie drone shots of the empty venue later being released to the public. This footage really gives you an idea of just how crammed this small venue had been whilst Travis Scott was performing. One stage with this tiny space and well over 50,000 people crammed in. Frankly, just looking at it with the naked eye, you can tell that this venue is not safe for that many people, really driving home just how irresponsible this entire setup was. But for now, the state of the venue would be the least of organisers' worries, because once the news of the tragedy broke, headlines were quick to point the finger at Travis for performing for over 30 minutes after the event had been declared a mass casualty. And it very quickly became clear that this situation would be a legal and PR disaster for Travis Scott. So it would only be a matter of time before he'd be forced to comment on the matter publicly. And the following day, Travis would release a note-page statement on his social media saying the following: "I'm absolutely devastated by what took place last night. My prayers go out to the families and all of those impacted by what happened at Astroworld Festival. Houston PD has my total support as they continue to look into the tragic loss of life. I am committed to working together with the Houston community to heal and support the families in need. Thank you to Houston PD, Fire Department and NRG Park for their immediate response and support. Love you all." This statement sounded lawyer approved, but let's break it down a little closer. You'll notice how there is zero apology and zero accountability for what happened. Travis says he's devastated by what took place last night. What took place, Travis? Do you mean what you caused to happen at the event you put on? He says his prayers go out to those impacted by Astroworld. You know, his festival Astroworld. Speaking about his own festival in the third person, as if the entire thing isn't based around him or his album of the same name. He says that the Houston PD have his total support as they continue to look into the tragic loss of life. Well, they won't need much support because the person they're looking for is you, and the tragic loss of life occurred at your festival, where to get in, people had to literally walk through a fucking sculpture of your head through your mouth. Travis says that he's committed to working with the Houston community to heal and provide family support. Well, the Houston community didn't cause these deaths and injuries. Your festival did, so you shouldn't be supporting, you should be taking full responsibility and accountability for the deaths and injuries that occurred at your festival. And he ends his pathetic little statement, thanking the Houston PD and Fire Department for their immediate support. You know, supporting the people who were killed and injured as an immediate result of the dangerous festival you put on and didn't end when it got dangerous. Also, he didn't help the medical staff. Do you remember, when you were on stage and you saw the ambulance? Medical staff. The people breathing into the dead bodies in front of you? Anyway, Drake put out a better apology saying, "I've spent the last few days trying to wrap my mind around this devastating tragedy. I hate resorting to this platform to express an emotion as delicate as grief, but this is where I find myself. My heart is broken for the families and friends of those who lost their lives and for anyone who is suffering. I will continue to pray for all of them, and I will be of service in any way I can. May God be with you all." Well, Drizzy, maybe you shouldn't have gone on stage around 20 minutes after the event was declared a mass casualty. And I guess that's why you're making a statement too. Now, Travis's weak non-apology didn't go over too well on social media either. So, like the pathetic little coward that he is, he also had his girlfriend come out and defend him too. As billionaire airhead and first person to have their head on a pike when the revolution happens, Kylie Jenner tried to defend her man who was slaughtered on social media, rushing to Travis's defense with an IG story reading, "Travis and I are broken and devastated. My thoughts and prayers are with all who lost their lives, were injured or affected in any way by yesterday's events. And also for Travis, who I know cares deeply for his fans and the Houston community. I want to make it clear that we weren't aware of any fatalities until the news came out after the show, and in no world would have continued filming or performing. I am sending my deepest condolences to all of the families during this difficult time and will be praying for the healing of everyone who has been impacted." Now, the fact that his girlfriend, who doesn't care about anything other than herself, had to come out and tell the world that Travis actually cares about his fans just goes to show you how much of a flop Travis's original statement was. She said they weren't aware of any fatalities until after the show. But that would be hard to believe when Kylie Jenner's very own IG story from the night filming the stage would show the ambulance trapped in the crowd trying to get through.
It's an ambulance in the crowd. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
She naturally deleted that story from her Instagram after the deaths were announced, which I bet really pissed her off because that post was probably killing it with engagement. Anyway, as the hate mob got the pitchforks out for Kylie Jenner too, she would shift into damage control mode. And reports soon came out that the Kardashians were actually editing Travis Scott out of the upcoming season of their reality show. I mean, all that bragging about your girlfriend being a billionaire ain't such a good look when your baby mama meal ticket is editing you out of her show to try and look better in the media. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if she was back with Tiger by Christmas. Anywho, after his enormous flop of a first statement, Travis would go on to release one of the weakest video apologies in history. Like literally, this video will be remembered for over 100 years for just how pathetic and disingenuous it came across as. And in this non-apology / sorry excuse of a video, Travis Scott would rub his head with his palm in a closed fist, I assume attempting to communicate to his viewers just how tired and how much of a headache he's got, trying to elicit sympathy for all he's been through over the past few days. But I don't know about you, because all of this head rubbing just made me think he looked like a total dickhead, both figuratively and literally speaking, because in half of this video he looked like he was jerking off an imaginary dick in the middle of his forehead, which at least had the secondary function of letting the world know how much of a dickhead he is. Anyway, aside from the distracting optics that circle around this video, when it came to Travis's actual choice of words, we got yet another statement that I assume was approved by a lawyer, as Travis would use endless language games to avoid taking any responsibility for the tragedy that occurred at his festival directly in front of him.
I just want to send out prayers to the ones that was lost last night.
Notice how he pauses, because he's remembering not to take full responsibility. See, he's got to say this perfectly so it doesn't sound like his fault. The ones that was lost. As if they weren't killed as a direct result of an event that he organised.
To the ones that was lost last night, we're actually working right now to identify the families so we can help assist them through this tough time.
He's working to identify the families so that he can help assist them through this tough time. Losing a 9-year-old son is more than a tough time, Trav. And at this point, numerous deceased people have been identified. You don't need help, Trav. You should already be helping. This should be a video of you in a hospital meeting an injured fan, not you rubbing your little forehead saying how hard you're working whilst doing absolutely fuck all. You know, ever since this thing happened, apparently Travis Scott has just been pacing around his $14 million mansion, draped in a Hermes blanket worth thousands of dollars. Oh, woe is me. So hard to be Travis Scott.
You know, my fans really mean the world to me, and I always just really want to leave them with a positive experience.
His fans mean the world to him, do they? He always wants to leave them with a positive experience, does he? Well, I suppose leaving 10 of them dead and 300 of them injured falls well short of a good concert experience. You really missed the mark with that one there, Trav.
Anytime I can make out, you know, anything that's going on, I stop the show and, help them get the help they need,
Oh, Travis says that every time somebody gets injured at one of his shows, he stops it and helps them get the assistance they need. Even though the literal facts of the matter are, the show went on for 30 minutes after it was declared a mass casualty, and 10 people are now dead. He's literally not dealing in reality with this video. He's crafting a completely fictional reality, where he is somehow not to blame for what happened at his festival. It's his festival, the buck stops with him, and it's honestly mind-blowing to watch the mental gymnastics on display in this video.
I could just never imagine the severity of the situation.
He could never imagine the severity of the situation. I wonder what he thought the severity of the situation was when he saw that ambulance.
It's an ambulance in the crowd. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
You know, there's an ambulance in the crowd, probably nothing. I can't believe I've got to do this. But the literal definition of an ambulance is a medically equipped vehicle used to transport patients, used to respond to medical emergencies by medical services. An ambulance is a vehicle used to respond to medical emergencies. What did you think was going on in the crowd when you saw an ambulance, Trav? Fucking birthday party? Strippogram? But his next statement is a real doozy.
We've been working closely with everyone to just try to get to the bottom of this. The City of Houston, HPD, Fire Department, everyone to, help us figure this out. So if you have any information, please just contact your local authorities.
He really said that he's been working with the authorities to get to the bottom of this. And he said if you've got any information, contact the authorities. Hi, yeah, Houston Police Department? Yeah, I think I found the guy you're looking for. Yeah, short braids, black and white filter, invisible cock on his forehead. Oh, you're already looking into him? Good.
Everybody continue to just keep your prayers.
Yeah, keep your prayers. What prayers, Trav? Praying that the families of the people who died at your festival get justice? Pray for whatever irresponsible piece of shit allowed this to happen and made money off of it goes to jail for a long time? At least let me know what I'm praying for, Trav.
I mean, I'm honestly just devastated.
He's honestly just devastated. Nothing like somebody telling you honestly, no really, honestly, I'm devastated. Just to convince you. I know I don't seem devastated. I know I seem like I'm sidestepping all responsibility, but honestly, I'm devastated at how much money I'm going to lose.
I could never imagine anything like this just happening.
Yeah, to you, you couldn't have ever imagined something this tragic and devastating would happen to Travis Scott with his $23 million house, his $8 million car collection. Trav could never imagine such a heartbreaking tragedy happen at his festival. Hell, at this rate, with these lawsuits piling up, you might have to sell some of those cars, Trav. What a tragedy. Can I get the smallest $8 million violin in the world just for Travis, please?
I'm gonna do everything I can to keep you guys updated and just keep you guys informed on what's going on. Love you all.
Poor Travis, it must have been so hard for him to roll out of his Hermes bedspread to film that sad video. And I don't know if you noticed, but Travis's video was extra sad. And you know that because he decided to put a black and white filter on the video before he uploaded it. I assume to communicate the seriousness and sadness of the situation at hand. You know, because Travis is so creative, even when he's apologizing for 10 people dying, it's still artistic. Hell, I'm surprised he didn't slap a little auto-tune on and apologize to those families in the perfect octave.
I just want to send out prayers to the ones that was lost last night. We're actually working right now to identify the families so we can help assist them through this tough time.
Travis Scott's repeated avoidance of apologizing sincerely publicly is unforgivable. This dickhead really thinks that he can use clever language games to sideskirt responsibility for 10 people dying at his festival. He's had so many years of people idolizing him like a god that he really thinks he can just bend reality with his words. But trust me, as time goes on, people are going to start seeing Travis Scott less like a celebrity pseudo-god and more like a crusty owner-operator of an unsafe low-budget carnival that people die at. A pathetic coward that does the dash as soon as accountability comes knocking. But just in case 10 dead and no apology didn't make you despise this greedy scumbag enough, Travis Scott would take things a step further, later offering free therapy to those affected by the events that unfolded at his festival. Not real in-person trauma therapy, of course, that's too expensive. No, Travis would be offering online therapy with the controversial startup BetterHelp, who they themselves say that their online digital therapy is not an adequate substitute for real face-to-face therapy that the victims of serious trauma like this one obviously need. BetterHelp have been accused in the past of providing low-quality therapists and for using predatory price tactics to trap vulnerable people into expensive monthly plans using trial memberships.
$65 per week, but you are billed monthly. So when the 7-day trial runs out, you're immediately billed $260. So let's say you sign up for BetterHelp for a 7-day free trial. As soon as that trial ends, you are charged immediately with the full price of a month, $260. And even if you immediately cancel, you are still charged the full amount for a month that you will not use.
But surely there's nothing untowards going on when Travis Scott says he's offering free therapy to those affected. Oh, sorry, no, that's free therapy for 1 month, just 1 month. And this generous offer that's being extended to victims of the Astroworld tragedy looks exactly the same as the same 1 month free BetterHelp option that's been offered to tennis fans. In fact, Ariana Grande has also been offering free therapy trials through her own branding partnership with BetterHelp. And yes, fans on the Travis Scott subreddit have confirmed that in order to take advantage of Travis Scott's generous offer, you indeed have to provide your credit card details upon sign-up. So BetterHelp can hook you into an expensive prepaid online therapy plan that's not even a substitute for real trauma therapy. So people, Travis Scott might just be the first celebrity in history to use a deadly tragedy where 10 people lost their lives to land a lucrative brand partnership. Oh, and by the way, according to their own website, BetterHelp is not actually suitable for minors. So any kids that went to Astroworlds and are suffering the long-term mental health effects of seeing people die in front of you, you're just gonna have to thug it out, I guess. Let me just make this clear. My dislike of Travis Scott isn't just based on me holding him wholly responsible for the deaths that occurred at his event, but it's his attitude after the fact. The attitude of a man continuing to play a show in front of a crowd he knows is distressed, but he just keeps going because he wants to get his songs off and he wants to bring out Drake. Because Drake came all this way, we couldn't possibly end the show before bringing Drake out in order to save lives. It's his attitude when he releases a legal speak statement, completely sidestepping responsibility for what happened at his festival. It's the arrogance to think that you can placate the grieving families who sent their children to die in front of your very eyes on your festival stage with a free trial of an online therapy startup. Shame on you, Travis Scott, you greedy, self-centered, arrogant dickhead. I truly hope you get what you deserve, because the whole world can see you have learned nothing from what's happened. You need to be humbled to understand the pain of everyday people. While you run around the world stage to stage bragging about your billionaire girlfriend, your endless collection of cars and houses worth millions, normal people struggle to scrape the money together to attend your concerts. You fail to provide a safe atmosphere at your show, and your fans die right in front of you. And you treat them as completely worthless. The whole thing's just a big inconvenience to you and you can't even muster up a full apology. Your fans' lives probably aren't even worth a Hermes blanket to you. The only place Travis Scott might get humbled to the plight of a normal person is maybe spending some time inside a jail cell away from his 0.1%er lifestyle. And fortunately, that might end up being the case. Because on the 8th of November, 2021, the FBI announced that they were getting involved in the ongoing investigation. And this really doesn't surprise me, considering how many states Travis Scott has endangered lives in. The same way that the feds are hitting rappers with federal cases for shooting at ops state to state, in my opinion, Travis Scott should be facing the same charges for running a deadly racket that leaves his fans injured, paralyzed and dead state to state, all in the pursuit of making him millions of dollars. Travis Scott's multi-million-dollar car collection was paid for with his show money, and that show money is soaked in the blood of teenagers who Travis encouraged to risk their lives at his shows city to city around the world. Chances are Travis Scott will never perform live again and no venue will ever insure him. The criminal investigation into this case will go on, and the facts about who was truly responsible for these deaths will eventually come to light. It's for that reason that I chose not to discuss a lot of the behind-the-scenes facts or details about the organisation of the event or what went on backstage that day. And when those facts come out, I'll do an update. But what's clear to me from the outset is that this was a completely preventable and predictable crisis. And there is absolutely no way to deny that this Astroworld festival was Travis Scott's festival, and the buck needs to stop somewhere. Travis Scott himself has an extensive and documented history of putting his fans' lives and safety in danger at his shows and profiting from the whole thing. His young impressionable fans went to Astroworld 2021 that day to rage, not to die, so I do truly hope that the people responsible for these deaths are punished to the full extent of the law for the failures that led to this catastrophic loss of life. And I hope that the many grieving families who lost loved ones that day do get the justice that they deserve. Thank you for watching, and rest in peace to everybody who lost their lives at Astroworld.